Hey, sports fans! Coach Nick here, and welcome to the B-Ball Breakdown live show coming at you, as always, on a Monday. I've got Andrew Combo Sal joining me as well, as always. So let's get into this because we have a lot to talk about from a lot of the games since over the weekend. Combo, are you with us today?
I'm here, man. I'm here. You know, it's funny. Whenever I do a different show on YouTube or I'm on another platform, they go, "Why is Combo not on B-Ball Breakdown? What is he doing over here? What is he doing? Is he playing hooky on B-Ball Breakdown?"
Oh,
I'm the official B-Ball Breakdown guy now.
I guess you are, but you are free to have a relationship with every other person you would like, and go on any other show. Please get that combo gospel.
I'm just saying, B-Ball Breakdown Nation is in full effect everywhere. That's all I'm saying.
Love it, love it. Well, great to hear. I got called out by the crazy guy last night. Did you see that? Awful coaching.
Wait, there's beef?
He was screaming and yelling, and then he threw out my B-Ball Breakdown too. So we might have to do a little reply. I don't know, but
this is going to be bigger than Kendrick and Drake. I could see it already.
Yeah, it's shaping up to that. I mean, listen, there's nothing I would rather do, I think, at this point than do a breakdown in that style and just start screaming and yelling. And I might have to a little bit in this one because the end of the Timberwolves Nuggets game is going to almost make me lose my voice from screaming so upsettedly.
So you should take one of his videos of him screaming and then scream about why he was wrong in that clip. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, right. I mean, I don't even know. We'll see how I'm going to do it. I might just do that style, and then that'll be enough of a hat tip because I don't know. People, do we? I suppose we could.
I think it's not a zero-sum game, right?
Yeah, there's room, but I don't know, man. I mean, it's entertaining, but at some point after about a minute, it's kind of hard to listen to. You know what I mean?
Honestly, I have never saw one of his clips for like longer than 10 seconds. Like one time I clicked on a little. Yeah, I haven't watched much of it.
Yeah, I mean, if you try, it's not easy, but he's got some good phrases. He gets way out there ahead of his skis with some of the comparisons and stuff. But you know, hey, it's he's playing a role now. But let's get into this because we got to talk a little bit about what happened last night. The Nuggets are back in this series. Who knew? Didn't we? I thought we were doing postmortems already after Game 2.
It feels like in the NBA media space, we overreact to everything so much, right? It's like you could find a clip for every team that says, "Is this the end for blank?" Right? And you could put in any team and you'll find something, right? It doesn't matter. So it is what it is. But I think Denver found a way to not get sped up like they did in Game 2, Jamal Murray especially, because that didn't really look like Jamal Murray in Game 2. But the big difference in this game, the X factor in this game, was the end of the second quarter with Jamal Murray's big shot and Denver's run. That's where everything turned for the team. Jamal Murray hits a half-court shot and turns to Kevin Harlan and just gets hyped. And that was a moment that I think we'll remember for a long time.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, crazy. And you know what ended up kind of being a big basket because, you know, they were nursing that 8, 9, 10, 11-point lead. And it was, you know, that extra 3 points is important and going into that half. So, here's the thing that I had a viral tweet. Did you see it last night?
You have many viral tweets, Coach Nick. I don't know which one. Which one are you talking about?
So I had one where so you can picture this. You know what? I got to check to see exactly what time of the game because now it was so frustrating. So here it is with a minute and a half to go and Denver up by 7. Okay, which is, you know, we're getting close to the end, maybe a minute 40. So the game is almost getting decided, but you know what? You get a stop, you hit a 3, you get a turnover. It's like, you know, this happens all the time, right? And all of a sudden you're right back in the game. But they come down and Aaron Gordon is rolling it up, right? Because there's that thing where the clock will run, but the shot clock won't. And so you can get, you know, and by the way, we got to talk about that because Jokic, I saw a great tweet. I got to see if I can figure out who it was. He spotlit how Jokic was able to burn like a minute and a half of clock time in the last quarter by just sort of slowly inbounding it or not like bringing it up quickly or whatever. You can milk a lot of extra time there. A lot of players, I guess, do it. He is probably the king of it. So, you know, so you think about that. When you are down and you're heading down to the last 5 or 6 minutes of the game, he's eliminating I don't know, 5 or 6 possessions, you know, because you got to be up. You got to make sure that if you're pressing that the refs start counting to limit that. But nonetheless, so Aaron Gordon is rolling it up. which means that the defense from Minnesota is back. They're in the backcourt or in the front court. They're waiting. They're whatever. Rudy is guarding Brown. And let's see here. Ant is guarding KCP. And I'm sorry. Let me screw that up. No, Rudy goes to Aaron Gordon, and then what's his face is guarding Brown. Cat. So anyway, Brown is in the weak side corner. Cat is on him, right? The ball is still in the backcourt, and they don't guard Jokic. Nobody is guarding Jokic. Suddenly, as it gets toward the half court, and Gordon had picked the ball, but is dribbling. Now, here's what I think happened. Anthony Edwards sort of like points at Cat, who's in the far corner guarding Brown. And I think he's pointing at him because he's saying, get your ass over here and guard the guy you're supposed to be guarding. Mm-hmm. And other people wanted to say he was pointing at Cat saying, oh, I got Jokic. He's going to be mine. I'm everything. Right? I'm so good. It's like, no, there's no other explanation for why he was pointing was get over here. This is your man. And Cat completely blanked and had no idea. So now Ant has to guard him. They try and do a double team. He spins baseline. Oh, and by the way, in all of that, Rudy did have a chance to just go on him, and he didn't. And that was also bad. And he spins to the baseline, shoots that little runner, and ends the game, right? 9-point lead, minute and a half, over, it's over. So I don't know if you can picture that, if you can remember that. But it was like, how can you get to the point where you're, this could end the series, right? If you get back in it, you win game 4, and then, the series would be over. They completely blow who they are supposed to be guarding. How is that even possible?
Yeah, I don't know. How much of Minnesota's offense is regressing to what they were in the regular season? Because it wasn't that great, Bob. And I always felt like Anthony Edwards was the guy that could take him over the hump, and he's showing that this leap is real, but it's still not enough in these last 2 games.
Wait, you want to hijack my question and then bring it over to the offense? We're talking about the defense, damn it. I want to know what's happening with the defense because I think
defense, schmefense, Coach Nick.
Defense, schmefense is one. You're right, but one thing. But this is a team that's hung their hat on their defense. They had figured something out in game 2. Now, here's the thing. We didn't. I guess we talked about game 2. Game 2, although watching that made me feel like I was watching Bulls Knicks 1993. Right, that's how physical they were allowed to be, at least from the Minnesota standpoint. And by the way, some of those might not have even been fouls per se, by the way they've been doing it, but it was so physical they lost their minds. They couldn't get a technical foul when Malone tried to get one. That that inspires. I think that inspires Murray to throw the ball, the heating pad on the court anyway. But all of a sudden, what I didn't notice though, like in game 3, for instance, I got to go back and check one more time. I'm not even sure that they decided to call a couple quick fouls and let Minnesota know we're not going to let that happen anymore. I don't know. I just think that something changed with Minnesota. Maybe it was the lineups. Gobert comes back, and all of a sudden they're not nearly as effective anymore defensively. Like, that doesn't make sense, but there's got to be something going on here with that. They're not as aggressive, but I don't know. Do you want to get? Oh, and by the way, if you have a question and you want us to answer it, the best way to do that is the super chat function on the YouTube side. So if you're there, feel free. We'll give you a lot of love. We'll put your thing on the screen. And if you're on Twitter, then come over to YouTube and join us and ask a question.
I mean, obviously the rim protection is better with Rudy, but do you feel like with Rudy and Cat on the court at the same time, it opens up things for players like Aaron Gordon, who's so athletic, so nimble, so quick on his feet, jumps so high? Just a ridiculous athlete in every way.
It does. I mean, they were ignoring him in the corner, and Aaron Gordon is now hitting threes. So I kind of wanted to call it up. I think he was like 2.
How much of this series comes down to Cat versus Aaron Gordon? No, Cat versus Aaron Gordon, because we know Jokic and Anthony Edwards and even Jamal Murray are going to be great. Right.
Well, okay. By the way, Aaron Gordon is 8 for 11 in the last threes, and those are all like he could check the wind, lick his thumb, the whole thing. He's so wide open on those. So here's the thing, if it's Cat and Rudy together, or if it's just how are they going to be able to get by if they can't pick up their own freaking men the right way with plenty of time to do that? Like, that's what's frustrating. Which talks a little bit about Cat. Cat didn't. Oh, so here's what happened. Then I found another clip earlier in the 4th where they also screwed this up 8.5 ago in the 4th. Where Gordon was out, okay? So that meant that Rudy was guarding Jokic for a while, which is not a good matchup, but they were trying it. And I'm going to add it all up. You'll see. I haven't got to that point yet in my breakdown yet for today. But Rudy just can't guard Jokic, but they had him on him, and they put Cat on Brown, okay? And again, it didn't really make any sense. Flip that. Okay, why not? And so anyway, as soon as Gordon subs in, Cat has no idea. Cat is still guarding Brown. And again, Jokic is not being guarded. Now, they were able to recover quickly enough. They get a double. They force a turnover. So it actually looked like okay for them. But it's the same problem they had with a minute and a half to go. So this is not even an isolated incident that they kind of had a brain fart or whatever. It's almost like a consistency defensively, and it's Cat. So that it might be the answer to your question. It's like, can they handle him not being able to focus or make mistakes? These are mistakes that don't appear in the box score. Yeah. They don't appear and people don't notice it. But if you're really studying it, looking at it, you notice, and it's egregious. You cannot have that in the fourth quarter of a crucial playoff game.
Yeah, I mean, everybody was talking smack about Jokic after the first two games. I think some of it was Cat's lackadaisical play, but it's also like Jokic just making the right read at every time, and it feels like he shoots 100% with those floaters and those jump hooks too. So, a lot of it is Minnesota on defense, but some of it is just Jokic being an all-time great.
Yeah, and figuring some things out. Although he missed some things himself that weren't that he can even clean up.
He found easy dunks for Aaron Gordon. He hit the floater. He got to the rim. I mean, he was playing pretty well down the stretch there at the fourth.
Yeah, but with 8.5 to go, when he threw the ball away toward the corner, the bad pass, and then it forced KCP to throw it away, or Holiday to throw it away. One of those two guys. He missed that read. Like, that was an easy dump off for Gordon for a dunk. But they're having some effect on him a little bit here and making him think twice on some things, missing a few floaters that maybe he normally make.
Sometimes, I mean, at the end he was making floaters, and he did catch Gordon for a dunk. Baseline, he cut down left side, dunked it.
No look. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, and Aaron Gordon was wide open, but some of that was because of the pressure that Jokic puts in that area between the short range and the mid range with that.
But like, that one where the Gordon dunk was also kind of messy, got bunched up there and down there. But that's the guy you don't leave, and I think that was also Cat. So there, I know it was a no look, and it kind of probably froze him because I think he looked to the corner and then threw it, or somehow marine it over to Gordon. Right. And so you definitely want to give a lot of credit to Jokic, obviously, for making that, but. I'm just, the question that comes down to, is it the coaching, or is it just the players are screwing it up and the coaches are yelling at them, making sure they're trying to do it? But this is not a team we were already writing the eulogies. It was over, right? You can't lose the first two games at home and win a series. And yet they've now stolen that last two. They have all the momentum. Now they're going into game 5 at home, having figured this whole thing out. Because what was killing them, right? What was killing them was Cat on Jokic, who for some reason is not able to back him down into the basket. Now, whatever Rudy does, and what the result is when Rudy is guarding Jokic, he'll end up with his head under the rim, right? Almost every time. That's what's going to happen. Whether Jokic makes that shot or not, Rudy will be under the rim. That doesn't work. But now, with Gordon hitting those threes, and even in the big blowout in game 2, Gordon hit a bunch of threes. He discovered something there. Now that changes things with Rudy, but they're going to have to come up with something else. What they're trying to do, I think, is let Rudy guard anybody in that corner on the weak side, so that he doesn't have to deal. If it's not Gordon, it's anybody else, so he can still be a free roamer. And then I'll have somebody else who can focus on Gordon too. But that it's just not working, and I don't know if there's a solution at this point.
I mean, Aaron Gordon's an all-star level player, really. He just decided to embrace this role in a lot of ways. There's players that played in the all-star game that Aaron Gordon's better than. And that makes things a lot easier for the Nuggets in a lot of situations when your third guy is Aaron Gordon,
Absolutely. Now, he's not better than Anthony Edwards if we're talking about the hierarchy of players.
No, he's not.
This guy is absolutely great. I mean, he keeps demonstrating, and no matter, he's the guy, you can't stop him. There isn't a way. He's getting in the ring. He had a move on a spin where he was about to just pull up and shoot a jumper and then just step through. Do you know the play I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Explosive.
He's
dear Lord, is this guy.
The combination of skill, athleticism, and mentality that he has is rarely seen in this league.
Rarely. In fact, we had to go way back since we've seen somebody who can move like that. Let me make sure I got the right. I got all the damn things open. I think it's this one.
I mean, I think he's the best athlete in sports. And I know we had this whole thing with Austin Rivers with the football and the basketball stuff, but man, that guy, I mean, he could play any sport if he wanted to.
Yeah.
Aaron Gordon is another guy kind of like that. Not maybe quite the athlete of Anthony Edwards, but he's a fantastic athlete as well. Just ridiculous.
Well, let's talk about so Anthony Edwards, 16 for 25, 5 for 8 from 3, 5 boards, 5 assists, 2 steals, block. I mean, you can't ask any more of him. Now, one thing I wanted to share because it's interesting. I started doing this for the video. I'm not even sure how much I'm going to use it, but I started tracking over the games 2, 3, and 4 who was bringing the ball up for Denver and what the result of the possession was, because I was assuming I was going to see, game 2, Murray was bringing it up. They were blasting him, and then they were wearing him out with the press, and it was a nightmare for those possessions, right? And they're falling apart right before they started. Because it is interesting, right? Because whoever brings the ball up tends to dictate what the possession is going to be. They make the decision of who they're going to pass to, what side they're on, and all that stuff. So here's what I came up with. Someone's calling me a Luka hater? What? In all the time that we've done this show, have you ever even heard me say anything? I don't know if I've ever said anything.
First of all, every player could have something negative said about them, but no, I haven't heard much negativity about Luka.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, Luka's playing defense. He's injured, he's hurt, he's not doing well on offense, but like he was making plays defensively down the stretch. Like this is a new thing. Right. This is impressive.
Yeah, I talk about this a lot. Like his load might be a little bit less now. Right. That's part of the reason his numbers are down. But, you only have bandwidth for so much. It's very rare when you're like the best offensive player in the league or the best defensive player in the league. Like bandwidth really matters, And
Anthony Edwards is on his way to being that.
Yeah. He's different. I mean, Michael Jordan obviously was that, but Kawhi Leonard, Toronto was close to that. I mean, but there's not a lot of guys like that.
Yeah. No, all of that and more. I mean, it really was, a thing. And don't let anyone tell you, Combo, in your youthful age, that Michael wasn't like an elite defender or lockdown defender.
Oh, I think everybody knew that, no matter where you land.
Yeah, there's some people out there trying to change the narrative. It's weird, but all right. Well, let's get back to. Well, let me do this really quickly with the numbers. So I tracked them all because I was curious. Now, the only thing about game 2 was it did get out of hand, actually only by in the third quarter. So it should be relatively accurate. But when Murray brought the ball up, and I got rid of sideline out of bounds, I'm talking about literally in the backcourt, inbound it for after a basket or an inbound, at the baseline, dribble the ball across half court to track who did that. So Murray in 18 possessions was 0.8 points per possession. Jokic, so Murray had 18 of those. Jokic had 13. And he was at 0.8 as well. So very similar. And then Aaron Gordon brought it up 10 times. I had thought in reaction to game 2, when they were blitzing everybody and putting so much pressure in the backcourt, that they were like Gordon was the big adjustment that's why they had him bring the ball up a lot more. Now they did do that more, but he had been doing it anyway, right? Like he'd already been doing it. He did it 10 times in game 2. They only got 4 points for a measly 0.4 points per possession. But that was the one thing that was interesting to me was that I for some reason in my mind, I was assuming Aaron Gordon didn't really bring the ball up at all, but it turns out he did. However, game 3, the adjustment was give him the ball 14 times instead of the 10, which is the tied. It was him and Murray both did 14. Now, what's interesting is that Gordon had a really low points per possession on those as well, 0.6. Murray was actually incredible in 14 possessions, bringing it up 1.7 points per possession. And then Jokic bringing it up only 7 times was 1.4. So Jokic and Murray bringing up where it just killed them. Okay. Now, part of what Gordon does when he brings the ball up is it lets Murray get into the weak side corner and then operate out of their offense, which I think is really viable and a great way to give him some rest and give him a little bit of less focus by the defense. They might lose him back there for a little bit. And then in game 4, really quickly, Gordon brings the ball up 23 times. And they did really well on those, 1.17 points per possession. So that was a high by far. Murray had 16 of those possessions bringing it up, but he was getting 1.4. And some of those are just going. He went and scored, right? He was that good yesterday. And then Jokic had 11. So I would have thought, so if you can follow this train of thought, right, they're obviously moving Gordon into the more of a primary ball handling role, bringing it up. And it's getting better and better. And then Jokic is becoming a little bit less of that, which I thought was interesting. To me, it's like he should be the guy who gets probably the most of those kind of, duties.
Yeah. How much of the Nuggets offense do you believe is just wherever the ball lands? Like if Aaron Gordon gets a rebound, he could bring it up, right? If Aaron Gordon and Jamal Murray's pressured, they could just give it to Jokic. If Jokic is pressured, like for some reason, just hand it off, right?
Right.
I remember my college coach used to tell me, like, when I was playing point guard, if my guy happens to be like small and pressuring me full court, just give it to the other guy to bring it up and get it to your offense, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And by the way, most of the ones that I'm charting, like I'm eliminating the transition, I'm limiting the out of bounds plays. So basically, these are the times when they have a decision. They could decide who's bringing it up, and you can see them look for Gordon. Like, oh, remember we talked about this, Gordon. You have to bring it
Yeah.
up.
I'm sure I'm sure it's a combination of both, right? Like sometimes it's just whoever has it. Sometimes we want this person to bring up the ball because we feel like it's most advantageous.
Yeah, and I would think more in like the transition or delayed fast break stuff. That's really where you get what you're describing in terms of organic. Who's going to bring it up? But when there's like a stoppage of play or the inbound like that, then you get to decide, and that's how that's definitely there's a thing there.
I think everybody on that team could bring it up pretty much, right?
Like, oh yeah, that way they have Brown bringing it up a ton. I didn't even chart Browns. I didn't chart KCP. I didn't chart Reggie.
Yeah. Exactly. Brown, Reggie, KCP. I mean, that's like basically the whole rotation, and everybody could bring the ball up the court. Brown in college was a guy who seemed to play point guard at times, Yeah.
So he's like, really helpful because it saves, Murray, and it saves those guys too. They can rest, they can get, attack from a different area, which also makes you more dangerous, right? The more varied you are in where you begin the offense, the harder it is to guard you. And that's why it's like with Luka, they get into those rhythms where it's the same play down every time down, and then defense can start to key on that, which is why it's nice to have someone like Kyrie who can then take over and do that. Did you see that Kyrie lefty floater that he hits down the
ridiculous.
Crazy. All right, we had some. Let's talk about. We have our first super chat. Andrew Zoo, best friend of the breakdown. Always amazing to see him out here. Thank you so much, Andrew. He says Luka's showing growth this playoffs, diving and fighting for loose balls, not doing nothing outside of hogging the ball. Absolutely, positively, and that's probably Dort guarding him, right? Dort guarding him is probably. I mean, certainly he's frustrated. Have you seen? He's getting chippy on the offensive end for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Dort is a different kind of character when we're talking about defense. His bandwidth, his intensity on defense, he just doesn't get tired, and he's strong too, and he's quick. I mean, those guys are annoying when they're locked in, To really like, from my experience, guys like that beating them, you have to really learn how to move off the ball, and that's not necessarily Luka's strong point. But I mean, Luka can obviously score on anybody, but when you have a guy like that just set on you and he's looking at you, he's one of those guys that you definitely want to get some buckets off the ball against.
Yeah, I would like to see Luka set more screens to maybe force.
Yeah, that helps too. That helps too.
I'd like to see him do that versus having somebody set a screen for him and then force a switch. I'd love to see Luka set the screen a little bit. I'd love to see him post up even more. I know he's getting post up, so I'd like to see him post up more on that. To combat that. I think Dort needs to calm it down about 10%. I think he's taking fouls that are hurting the OKC because they need him on the court and they need him playing where he's not in foul trouble. And a couple of these are just like head scratching, like you're just taking the foul, like you're trying to hit the guy. I don't understand what he's doing. He need him. There was a real controversial one. Everyone's like, "Oh, this is not worthy of a call," when he was trying to go around the screen, and then they get the other angle, and he's like, he need him in the stomach, basically. Dort did. He's got to tone it down 10-12%.
Yeah, SGA was. I love watching that guy play, man. Like, did you see the move where he went through the legs, in and out, through the legs, pull up jumper? Like, he got some stuff in his bag, man.
Yeah, but it's not enough. He and by the way, it's him versus two, right? It's him versus Kyrie and Luka. He missed a couple shots down the stretch, but then Kyrie comes, hits that lefty. Like, it's tough. And that's like the difference in these games because it was really close. They had that big run in the third to take over, but
yeah, that is, he's so talented. Like, he had it with one, put it back with two, then with one. I mean, there's not a lot of people with their strong hand that could do that, like, consistently.
Yeah. Now, and again, back to Andrew's question or comment about Luka, it is too bad he's banged up. Like, he's probably
he's bleeding? He's bleeding from his knee. He's bleeding from his knee and stuff. I don't know what's going on over there.
Well, I think that those are the injections that they're doing, and then he bleeds from that. So that's they're not surprised, I suppose, that he's bleeding, but that's how many injections he's been getting or whatever to try and heal this knee or something.
Injections don't fix the problem, by the way. It's just like a band. It's a Band-Aid. You could probably hurt yourself even more.
Yeah, and it's too bad for Slovenia because that means he's probably not going to play in the Olympics, I'd imagine.
I think he will. I have a feeling.
All right. I mean, maybe he just needs a month.
You know,
but,
you know why? Maybe I think if it was like just FIBA games, he might not play. But this only happens every 4 years. I'd be surprised if he doesn't play.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know that I'm sure he'll be pressured not to by the Mavericks, but we'll see. Yeah. All right, now let's get to what I want to talk about as well, because what I noticed here is Andrew Zoo. Thank you so much for the super chat, and this is exactly what we wanted to talk about. Thoughts on Josh Giddey's ceiling? He doesn't seem like a long-term fit on OKC due to how he's a non-threat off the ball. So, Josh, they were thinking maybe he wouldn't start, and he did anyway, because Dagnall doesn't want to like change up the starting lineups, but they're going to have to
chemistry reasons.
Well, I don't think it's chemistry, because he can pass the ball, and he actually scored.
No. I mean, just having like a team that you've been with the whole year.
I keep it that way for chemistry. Yeah, for sure. But here's the problem. If you look at the top lineups from the last game, and I have that. I just happen to have that. Let me see if I can call it up here. Yeah. Okay. So of all the top 5-man lineups that played in terms of minutes for the OKC Thunder, 1, 2, 3 of the top 4, 3 of them were positive. 2 of them were blowing out the Mavericks. So let me go backwards. So it's SGA, Dort, Wiggins, Holmgren, and Jay Williams. Now, only problem here is they're writing Jay Williams both times. Wait, is there a Jay? How would they? They're only writing Jay Williams. They don't tell you which one it is. So now I'm frustrated. Now I'm realizing that
there's Jay Will and Jay Dub.
I know, and we don't know which one's which.
That's so true.
Like in the lineup here, for 3 minutes they have both of them in, and it just says
they just got to trade one of them. They just have to. Yeah,
it's going to add another letter or two.
I mean, the big guy's good, but just trade him, man. It's too confusing.
Yeah. Well, listen, or get maybe another one. I don't know. Keep getting more Jay Williams. Maybe that's the starting 5.
I mean, they did well with 2 Jay Williams this year, so you're right. Maybe they need another.
They did. In fact, the one with the 2 Jay Williams was negative 103 minutes.
Maybe OKC should hire Jay Williams from Duke to come commentate the games. They'll get even better.
Right. So SGA, Dort, Wiggins, Holmgren, and one of the Williamses. That was for 4 minutes plus 22.5. Then you go Dort, Isaiah Joe, Wiggins, Holmgren, and Jay Williams. That was plus 30 in 5 minutes. So already in 9 minutes you have combined, plus 30, plus 22.5. They're seriously killing the Mavericks. Then you put in SGA, Dort, Joe, Holmgren, and Williams, and that was plus 7.7 in 6 minutes. That lineup represents the starters, but when you switch Giddey with Joe, right, a shooter, right? Joe is a legit shooter, and they had a lot more success in 6 minutes. In 12 minutes, the starters were negative 12, and it was really their offense. The offensive rating was 96. So what's happening is Giddey is out there, and they're completely ignoring him. He's not going to. He just can't. Did he even make?
They're giving him the Kyle Anderson, Aaron Gordon treatment.
Absolutely, time sent now. But the other thing is they're guarding him with. Giddey was 1 for 4. He hit 1 3, but they're guarding him with Gafford. So there isn't any movement through the lane.
And Gafford's gonna. I mean, he's so long and athletic that he could really mess up the spacing for the other team.
Yes. Yeah. So suddenly SGA doesn't have spacing, and even though SGA will pull up from midi anyway without getting all the way in, but it's not even a possibility now. Same with Jay Williams, J Dub there's nothing to drive to because
when you take away one option, you could press up a little bit more on SGA. You know what I mean? When you have PJ there waiting around, like you could just guard SGA differently.
Right. Yeah. So they're just completely gumming up the works. They're making it hard on everybody else, which is why the offense is stalling out. They don't play Giddey any other time. That's the only time he plays with the starters. It's 6 minutes to start the first quarter and 6 minutes to start the third quarter. So it's not like they're even overplaying Giddey now at this point. But listen, it was a close game. Went down the stretch, went down to the wire pretty much. They need a little bit better out of their starters. It's hard to win a playoff game, when your starters are negative 12.
Yeah, I mean, I think the series actually goes 7 now. I think OKC wins a few more games.
I mean, I could see that. I mean, it's 2-1 right now? Yeah, I mean, listen, I could see these are all close. I could see OKC definitely winning game 4.
Yeah. I don't think Dallas wins the rest of these or anything like that. So,
right. See. I mean, it's tough. When's the next game? How many days do we have here? Let me get the schedule here. I'm curious because they need if they had some of these schedules, like one team had like 3 or 4 days. I feel like in between, but let's see, Dallas. Today is Monday.
Is Andrew
Dallas plays Wednesday?
Is Andrew
full days to rest.
Is Andrew Zoo on like a pull-up machine? What's he doing over there? Thanks for the super chat.
Yeah, he's something.
Okay.
Wearing his Mavericks jersey.
He's wearing a Duke shirt. Duke University.
Oh, that's Duke. It's not the Mavericks. Same color. Okay, there you go. Riveting live broadcast. All right, let's get to our next super chat. Jorge, either way, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Why don't the Wolves try to guard everybody and let Jokic go for 70 with no assists? Laugh out loud. Would it force others out of rhythm? How do you guard the Nuggets? So I've tried to do this for 2 years now. Here's what I saw. I did see the Knicks beat them up pretty badly with their fully healthy. We talked about this before, but I'll just say it again because I want to look at it again. And they had Jericho Sims out there. I think Mitchell Robinson was hurt, and I think maybe so was Hartenstein. So they had a big body like Sims on him, and then they were doubling from the baseline. And it seemed to really help because if you double from the baseline, it might be a chance where Jokic is harder to see it. And then when it's like, but hey,
I know, but he sees everything.
All right, he sees everything.
Yeah,
but so you can you come from the baseline, and now I have to imagine maybe the rotations to the weak side are a different direction, and maybe it's easier for defenses to do it that way and not mess it up. But no one else. I haven't seen. I mean, I can't picture in my mind's eye any doubles of Jokic from the baseline.
Yeah, I do think George has the right idea here because it just makes no sense to double Jokic. He's just too good. So I like the idea of single coverage on Jokic in general. I just think it matters, like, what are you doing with the rest of your defensive scheme while you keep a single on Jokic? And then in transition, it's hard to scheme that way, right? Because, I mean, he has the ball in his hand. So he's not gonna get doubled anyway when he's bringing it up. So it takes you out of it when he's initiating offense.
Yeah. I mean, listen, like Phil Jackson way back in the day when post play was a real thing, right? They would try and avoid doubling as much as possible. And that's why they wanted guys like Bill Cartwright and Luke Longley, bangers, big guys who can just make them work. And if they're going to get the 25 points, it'll hopefully be on 40% field goal percentage. Now, can you get Jokic to get, below 50 on his shots? I don't know. That's really, really tough. But that's the job you'd have to do.
Definitely can't have Rudy. You can't have Rudy on him. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Let me look at what Jokic is.
You think Houston Rockets would have had more trouble if they never doubled Hakeem with their in and out offense?
Yeah, right. Because it was so stagnant, that offense, they probably would have well, here's the problem. Then in 1994-95, you could have played Hakeem straight up one-on-one. He would have scored 50 points and they would have won because the other team is not shooting threes, right?
No, they were, though. Kenny Smith was, and Mario Elie was.
Well, Kenny Smith was, but guess what? That's the same team. The other teams weren't really.
Oh, right. Got you.
You know what I mean? That's they were on their way, but they didn't quite figure it out then. And so, and you'd have to have significantly increased the 3-point attempts than even what they were doing then. I think.
No, but if you stayed home with the shooters, you wouldn't be playing the math game as much anymore, right? It would be Hakeem's twos versus your twos.
Yeah, well, that's a tough order as well because Hakeem's still going to be.
That's what I'm saying. You think teams would? Because I remember they used to play into out, and then double Hakeem, and then he would just kick out the shooters.
Right. So if you stayed home, like he'd score, and then but the reason why that works well is because you're going to be able to match a lot of those twos with some threes, and that's what wasn't happening enough back then. But it would have probably it would have stagnated them even more. But yeah, I mean, there's no question that, in today's game, at least, we got to find out. We got to see for a game what's going to happen if you just play him straight up and really make him work, maybe wear him out. I bet you have maybe a better chance than you have now, I think, because there is good movement. The Nuggets rotation is really short. They're playing 7-8 guys, right? And so, it's not hard to deal with like who's coming and who's kind of where they are. It shouldn't be, by the way, especially when they sub so infrequently. Why Cat screwed that up, I have no idea. But and they don't have like a lot of legit shooters anyway. So I guess that's probably the answer as well. If you have Brown out there and you have Wallace out there, not Wallace, who's the guy on Denver who
KCP, Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray, Jokic.
He comes off the bench. He plays 12 minutes. God damn it. Peyton Watson. Yeah. Watch. He's shooting in the playoffs. What's Peyton Watson shooting? Yeah, he's shooting 20. He's not a shooter. So, and even Reggie, I would probably dare to shoot some of those threes. So it's like that's probably, I mean, that sort of answers why you would double him, is because there are enough holes out there where you wouldn't worry too much about leaving them open and daring them to shoot it. Like, that seems like that's probably the more conventional way to do that. So I don't have a problem too much with that. But again, there isn't a lot of answers. Denver is very good, right?
Yeah, that is true. That is part
and,
of it.
The answer is physicality. Will throw them off, and the intricacy and the timing of their cuts gets thrown off. But at some point, if they're not going to be able to do that because that's going to be a foul, then all of a sudden you have problems with stopping them.
I wonder how much the officials get directives after game 2. First of all, they let Jamal Murray play. And second of all, it feels like it's not as physical as it was for game 2. I wonder how much of this is like, not to get conspiracy theory, just like to, tilt the scale a little bit more on less physicality.
You're right. I'm sure they had a directive. I'm sure they were told,
because some of the, probably by the letter of the law, even though I thought it was tough physical playoff defense, there probably was some fouls that were missed during that.
Which game?
Game 2. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that there were. I think that there was no question. Well, fouls that they missed, or they were like, we're letting them play, I guess. So, right. I'm going to go back. In the video today, I'm going to look for that too, because I don't remember. I was like, I remembered. Yeah. I forgot to watch for it in the first quarter. Like
they were playing really good defense. Maybe there was a few fouls, but I thought it was more just how in tune they were defensively, how connected they were, and how intense they were in terms of an individual defense standpoint as well. Like, I haven't seen too many defensive games like that game that Rudy was out in game 2. Like, that was ridiculous. And when Charles Barkley said, like, this is the best defensive team I've seen, I wasn't mad at it, especially for that game right there. And then the numbers hold up over the course of the whole year as well.
Yeah, for sure. And, and so I'm trying to think right now. So like maybe Rudy being out was what inspired them to play that much harder, because they knew they had to. And now when he comes back, like, it was in game 3, it was surprising to see them doing well. Like, the Nuggets, they had looked so bad in game 2 that you're like, oh, I forgot they can actually score. They're really good. It felt like that. It felt it was so over. And then game 4 was sort of more the same, where they were coming down. And you're right, there wasn't the same intensity. But I can't picture. I'm going to go through it one more time. Second play of the game, whistle. We're cleaning this up right now. I don't know if that happened. Maybe they just assumed it wasn't going to be allowed, and they didn't go back and forth that way. But the other thing is like Nickeil Alexander-Walker ends up being, the head of that train, and he doesn't start. So it's like you got to wait for him to come in, and then he'll start doing that, and then picking up in the backcourt. I don't know if that's part of it, but and he certainly wasn't helping them on offense either when he had been. So it's an interesting problem. Do you think that at this point, I'm going to say, do you think that the Timberwolves have any shot at winning the series?
They have a shot, yes, still. I think we can't overreact like you shouldn't overreact to the first two. But I always say that before I speak. What'd you say?
I'm completely overreacting at this point. I don't think that Minnesota's a chance.
Wow, yeah. Look, I had Denver before the series, so I'm going to stick with Denver, but I wouldn't say no chance.
Okay, there is a chance. You are right, but I don't think it's much. And by the way, the answer Bron was telling me, friend of the breakdown, thank you, Bron, it's a way to check which Williams would be in those lineups would be if there's another big, because they won't have Chet, and they don't have Chet and what's J-Dub? What's the other Jay Williams nickname?
Jay Will.
They won't have Jay Will and Chet in the same lineup, I don't think, right?
Why not?
Oh, no, they will.
They have tried that. They actually have tried that.
So, again, does that tell me that it's Jay Will and not J-Dub? I don't know. I don't think it does.
Yeah, because I think they actually had some bigger lineups throughout the course of this playoffs that worked pretty well.
Okay, I can see that. I can kind of picture that. I have to look. But
I don't think they did it as much during the regular season, though. I think they actually did it a little bit in the playoffs.
Yeah. Listen, they should try everything at this point. Andrew's back here with another super chat before we forget.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, SGA, Brooks, Dorton, Canada can really defend. Absolutely. They really can defend, so they can muck it up, but they're not.
So how are the first two guys? They're related, right?
I heard, Nickeil Alexander-Walker and then Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The Alexander is the connection, right?
Yeah, but I do think they're related too, right?
I believe that they're cousins or something like that.
Let us know in the comments section. Our audience is always well informed on stuff like this.
Right. And Brian also is recognizing, yes, that I think that they do double bigs. I can even see it right now in some of the footage I watched last night or this morning.
It's really good to see SGA and Ant Edwards ascend through the NBA ranks because they're two-way players, right?
Who's better?
Really that is tough. But I think Anthony Edwards has the higher ceiling. SGA was better this season. He was better this season than Anthony Edwards, but Anthony Edwards has the higher ceiling.
Yes, and I think this is the last season that SGA is better than Anthony Edwards.
That's fair. That could really happen. I could see that happening.
Yeah. I mean, Anthony Edwards is going to have to be top 6 next year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's playing. He's playing like a top 5 guy right now.
Yeah. I mean, truly overwhelming. Like, listen, it's like I grew up with Michael Jordan. This is a little bit like watching Michael Jordan. I'm telling you, this is what it's like. This is how it felt a little bit. The only thing that's different now is that it was so physical back then, and they permitted so much more of that the games just felt differently, except for game 2, Minnesota and Denver, a little bit. And so that is a little bit different. But there's a certain sense of like you're not going to stop this guy from getting whatever shot he wants.
Yeah, I mean, it was more physical back then, but there's more athletic and skilled defenders now. Like Scottie Pippen was an absolute anomaly back then. We see guys kind of like that, like with Jaden McDaniels on the perimeter, right? He's not as good as Scottie Pippen, but we see more guys with length. I know Jaden's on his team, but we see more guys like that. So I think it evens out.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, yeah, the Scottie Pippen prototype is definitely we've had for sure. I'm looking at Conley's minutes, 34 minutes, 5 for 12.
That was good micro content, by the way. SJ or Anthony Edwards. That was a great question. We might have to clip. We might have to tell the producers to clip that up for us.
Okay, we'll do that. So Conley, interesting. Conley actually played decently. It was -7 in the plus minus, which is
it's some big shots down the clutch, right?
Maybe. No. Did he? Down the stretch? I don't know.
I think so.
But he also was involved in that not picking up the defensive player properly that I mentioned earlier, and there's no excuse for that. But I guess the only problem is if you wanted to say, okay, let's adjust his minutes a little bit. There's no one to take. They don't have anybody else they're going to play at that position. That's the problem. So unless they give, an Ant's already, I mean, they can try to find a line, but Ant is the point guard, I guess. But I'm trying to picture. I think that anyway. I'm trying to think of what Finch is going to have to do here to change this stuff around, because obviously, letting Cat guard. That's the only solution they have is Cat has to guard Jokic and remember to guard him. Rudy has to hang out, behind and hopefully take away some of those post ups, and then they have to try and full court press them and make them crazy.
Yeah.
So, let's see how many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, they played 8 players, and Reggie only. Wait a minute, is that right? Reggie only played 9 minutes. Is that possible? It doesn't seem right, but okay. It looks like I got the full thing on. I thought
he definitely played. He definitely had some moments and played more earlier in the series.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I think there's going to be a moment in this playoffs where Reggie's going to win him a game.
Yeah, he almost did earlier, right? He was playing great in the first half. Was it game 1 or game? It was game 1, I think. I think it was game 1. Yeah,
it was.
Yeah, he played good.
Okay, I can't remember what.
I think Jamal Murray was like a little bit banged up for that game.
Yeah, right. And by the way, that's the other difference now is Murray looks like his old self again.
He's so clutch. He's one of the most clutch players in the NBA.
And his numbers weren't even, they weren't great. 8 for 17, 3 for 7 from the 3, 8 assists, 3 turnovers.
That sounds pretty good.
It's pretty good, but he had a moment there, like I want to say the third quarter, where he just detonated for several possessions in a row.
And how about the second quarter, the end of the game with that shot, the end of the half with that shot? That was huge.
Goodness. The presence of mind, because he knew he didn't have hardly any time, and that was, by the way, huge. It was supposed to be the last shot of the half for OKC. They go too early. I think they turn it over, right? They turn it over, and then actually, did they go too early? They went at a decent, I think, it was about 8-9 seconds on the clock. That's fine. They turned it over. The slowest fast break you're going to imagine, like MPJ was ahead of everybody, and the pass was really slow. He was waiting for it, but he got it. A closer dunk than it needed to be because the defender was able to catch up. And then to throw the ball away with a second and a half to go and have him hit that was, that's killer. killer stuff. And that's, again, they lost by 7 or 8, right? It's a close game. You cannot do that. What was the final score? It was by 8. So is this the youth of OKC coming out?
Yeah. I mean, I think that was going to be an issue at some point, right? But it was tough to kind of imagine them winning it all with the lack of experience. But then you look at how complete they are at the same time. I mean, there was a world that it could happen, even though we never seen a team this young win in the NBA.
Right. It was weird how quickly the Denver went from they're old and they're washed and they can't handle this to they remind us every time. This happens all the time where they here we're back again.
I wanted to tweet and I didn't do it after game 2, like, don't sleep on Jokic. I wanted to tweet that, but I never did. Oh well.
What's holding you back? Don't
No, I just didn't have the time. I was probably had live shows with you, podcasts, family, playing basketball. I played basketball yesterday. You want to hear about it? I don't know if everybody wants to hear about it. It was pretty fun though.
Yeah, lay it on us.
So I went undefeated, but I actually switched teams halfway through to make it more fair, and I still won the last 2. So went undefeated. Yeah. It wasn't the best run, but I definitely pulled the Michael Jordan.
Wow. Yeah, I was out there, by the way, demonstrating some defensive stuff.
I thought you were going to say you were out there at the run. I was going to say I didn't see you.
Not your run, but I was out there on the court and I was demonstrating some defense. I got to tell you, I was feeling pretty good.
Maybe you should get back out there.
I don't know.
35 and over league.
Yeah, maybe 45 and over, unfortunately.
I didn't want to age you, Coach Nick. I didn't want to age you.
I know, but I got this calf thing that's been bothering me. And like right when I do a little bit too much that I'm supposed to be doing, and it starts to feel like it's going to explode. So then I have to back off. But, we'll see. But I definitely – you know what happened? I had a training session yesterday that kind of, I guess, got –
you have a personal trainer?
No, like I was going to work with somebody on the court. And so I ended up getting about 25 minutes of just shooting around myself. That was kind of fun.
That's real. It's so good. Just you basketball. So much fun.
Yeah. And I never really do that these days. And so it was like, I can finding my jump shot and,
Steve Nash workout is the best way to do that, in my opinion. You ever see this Steve Nash 20-minute workout?
Well, it's like you shoot from the blocks and you shoot from the elbows. And
floaters, hooks, threes, mid-range, sweat backs, off the screen, just every kind of shot. It's really good. It's really complete.
Okay. That's absolutely. I mean, listen, he's the guy, even though it's a little old school, some of that stuff is also really, really good to do anyway, especially when you're by yourself. All right, let's talk about Knicks, Pacers. Amazing, great games, very exciting.
Every series is up in the air, right? I mean, I don't think anybody thinks the Cavs will beat the Celtics, but all the other series are up in the air, which is good.
I think the Knicks series is over. They're not going to win if they can't get OG back.
You think every series is over, Coach Nick? But they're not.
Yeah, isn't this overreacting? Doesn't it say overreacting? Oh no, it says live show. I thought it said overreacting show. But OG is so important to them, and they can't defend without him. Everything is breaking down. They're leaving. I mean, these threes that Indiana is generating. And by the way, is there anything more beautiful than watching Indiana when they get their offense going and the ball starts to fly?
We all know that Indiana is high variance. Like, I don't think they play like this every game. And on top of that, with the rest the Knicks will get, I think they'll come back a little bit stronger and the game will be a lot closer. And I think the Knicks win the next game and then they inevitably win in 6.
We'll see. But Brunson is a shell at this point. And he missed a layup jumping off.
But he wasn't a shell just 2 games ago. Like,
no, but he hurt the right foot.
But he did okay after that, right? Like, in that game,
he hurt it in game 3, right? Or no?
Yeah, and I mean, he had some big buckets after that.
Yeah, I just think that we're starting to see some indications that that's a problem.
So how much do you? Sorry to cut you off with Coach Nick. How much do you believe this is Coach Nick's? I said Coach Nick's. Coach Tibbs' style when it comes to just playing his guys too much, because it probably got him here, but it could be their downfall as well.
I think that this is what we're discovering is that they're overused. Now, the one guy that would be the most obvious proof of that would be Josh Hart, and he's not breaking down. So I guess you can say, well, look, then if he's not breaking down, must be working. So, but everyone else is falling apart. So
yeah, he had 17 rebounds in game 3. He's ridiculous.
Yeah. So no, the series is not over. But they got to get OG back, and I don't think he's coming back. Right? It doesn't sound like it.
How much of the modern NBA do we have to look at rebounding differently with the way Josh Hart and the Knicks rebound? It used to be like equated with boxing out and bigs, and now I just feel like it's more about, since the floor is so spaced, about hustle and speed and grit. It always had some of that involved, but I feel like the smaller guys could just rebound at a higher level these days.
Well, even back then, for the whole since rebounds have been tracked, a lot of them end up being, off of like free throws or no one's around, so we got this sort of inflated indication of like rebounds, right? So, we kind of needed to, we need a different stat, right? The stat for the ones that are the tough rebounds. But there's certainly, I think with Josh Hart in my mind's eye, I can picture a lot of those rebounds. He's running in like an offensive player, getting a defensive rebound, which is huge because that's the advantage you have on offense, right? Is you're behind everybody. You can see where the opening is. You can get running and get a full speed and get way up high and get that snatch that rebound. And then defensively, you're stuck, and you have to try and, find somebody, then find the ball. It's really hard, much harder. But anyway, so I think that like that's a thing. It's like we just need a better stat than just general rebounds.
Interesting.
And we've always needed that. I think that's the thing, But is it hard to get a rebound when nobody's going for an offensive board? No. It's you just jump up and you take it. You don't have to jump
because the way the way the game is played now.
Well, yeah, but right. And more so now because, back then teams would try and get offensive rebounds. So there always tended to be some version of it. But even then, you'd still get rebounds that were, nobody's going for. So we got to figure out a better way to rate that and stuff. So, but don't forget, I'm that guy who doesn't want you to box out in that traditional sense. I don't want you to turn your back on the ball and the rim to find somebody and hit them and then try and find them again. Do not take your eye off the ball. That's pretty much the best advice I can give anybody for rebounding.
Don't forget, sports fans. I just heard you say "don't forget," so I'm reminded of that.
Yeah, well, but we're at that time just about. So and then we have the question about this angry basketball guy. Yes, it must in the beginning we mentioned that a little bit. So
you can rewind and rewatch this 1,000 times. We'd appreciate it.
Yeah, that'd be great. Anyway, I think we covered it. I mean, listen, Celtics, Cavs, that one's over. Combo.
Yeah, that one's over.
Don't tell me anything different. That one's over.
But the rest of them are good, and the Cavs did win a game.
They did. And Boston's only up 2-1. They're playing tonight, I believe, right? So we'll find out. But
who's better, Aaron Gordon or Paulo Banchero? Really random.
Aaron Gordon or Paulo Banchero? Wow. I mean, Aaron Gordon. Well, geez, Paulo had some good games in the playoffs too. I don't know. I could see why you'd say Aaron Gordon. He's older, he's more polished, and whatever. So in that on the defensive side as well, he definitely gets above Paulo for that for sure. But Paulo does have a trajectory. It looks like where he can get higher eventually.
Yeah, I think a lot of that series was Paulo taking really tough shots and the Magic relying on that. I felt like that was some of the issue of that series.
Their offense was gross. For the most part,
so excessive, gross.
It's not. It was gross. It was ISOs and just not even try. Like, come on, run a little pistol, run something until you get some movement before then you go attack. I mean, that they're making it harder on everybody. Why do that? And listen, the Mavericks do it too. And then that Kyrie lefty again. That they didn't run any offense today. Like Kyrie just wind the clock down with every dribble move imaginable. And then. Did you hear that? Wow.
You got an earthquake going on over there?
That's a helicopter.
They're looking for you.
Anyhow, and then hit that lefty floater out. That hurt. That had to hurt as an OKC fan because that was like they did everything they needed to do except the last little part where they scored. But anyhow, I got to get back. I gotta figure out how to finish this video on Minnesota. And I'm realizing, okay, I know I haven't done one of the Cavs, Celtics, I don't think, but I got to get a Dallas one too. I haven't done that yet. Damn it.
Okay.
But
we got to do a live show after one of these playoff games. We got to figure that out.
We'll do a live. Yeah, I haven't done one in a week or so. I'll if you want to stay up, then we'll do it. I mean,
we'll figure it out.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you all. And Andrew out there for all the multiple super chats. He was really generous of you. We really appreciate it. Helps the show keep going. Oh, if you can do it, please watch the last video. If you missed it, I could use a few more views on that one. It would really help me for a lot of reasons. So I put it in the community tab if you see it there. Just the last video I did on oh goodness gracious. What was the last video I just did? It was on it was on OKC. Watch it again, please, before the next game. And let's see here. I think that's it.
Don't forget, sports fans.
Don't forget, sports fans. I forgot what it is, but I think what I'm supposed to say is we're not a channel, we're a conversation. And then I ask, are you in? Or I don't even say, are you in? I just say, you in? And then what I say,
the brevity.
combo, are you in?
I'm in, man.